Hello everyone, today I'd like to give you a brief introduction to my implementation of the ECE Chat Room. First, let's look at the project structure. The front end is separated from the back end, and they communicate with each other through APIs. In this design, the front end and back end can be developed separately and they are easy to be maintained and extended. The back end is developed with Express.js. It's a web framework from Node.js. There are three layers in my backend: the model layer, the service layer, and the controller layer. Let's take the user APIs as an example to go through the whole structure. First, the model layer. There are CIOD operations that interact with the database. In this application, I use MongoDB because its configuration is simple and it's easy to use. Also, I use Mongoose to help me conveniently communicate with the Mongo server. In this model layer, a user schema is created, and I use the model to do some creations and queries. Up to the service layer. It is a sequence because the business logic is in this layer. For instance, let's look at the register method. It first checks whether a username is already used. If it is unique, a new user document will be created. To ensure security, user passwords are not directly stored in the database. I use a randomly generated sort and a hash function to protect passwords. As for the login, I first calculate a new hash value based on user input and the source stored in the database, and then compare it with the hashed password in the database. If it passes the validation, a secret token will be generated. And next time, if the same user sends another request, he can attach this token to show his identity. The token will be decoded to get user info. Finally, the controller layer. There are only some simple endpoints. I developed a middleware here to do some form validations. For instance, this is to check whether the username field is in this pattern. In addition, to make it a real-time application, I use Socket.io. I will show this later together with the front end. Now let's move to the front end. There are some DOM operations like appending new chat messages, so I use a framework to make it clean. React.js is a lightweighted and easy to use one. I follow the component-based principle, and in this application, since it is small, there are only two components: the login and register component and the chat room component. First, the login and register component. It is simple. I only need to post user inputs to the backend through APIs and read the results. If there's anything wrong, I just display it to the user on the screen. Note that when there's a successful login, a token will be returned. I store it in local storage, so next time if a logged in user closes his browser and comes back, the local storage will be read first, and he will be automatically logged in. After a successful login, the user will be redirected to the main page, the chat room. The Socket.io part will be discussed later. Let's look at other functions first. In the constructor, a request will be sent to the server to retrieve all previous messages. The function scroll to the bottom here is to scroll the screen to the bottom, so the user can always see the latest message. The post function just sends user input to the backend. And message. Message here is a function-based component. Messages are rendered differently for current user and other users. Current users' messages will be on the right while others' messages are on the left. The last part I want to mention is the Socket.io. Please give me some time. So on the client side, the socket will be connected to the server. When a new message arrives, it will be appended to the messages array. If any user logs in or logs out, at least all other users in the room will receive a notification, so they'll know who's doing this and how many people are in the room. Let's have a try. First, the login and registration. If there's anything wrong, you will receive error messages. And if you try to register with the already used username, you'll also be alerted. So after a successful login or registration, you'll get into the chat room. Let's open two different windows and try two different users. Now you can see how many users are in this chat room, and exiting and joining will be known to all users. So if any user sends a message, all the users in this room will receive it automatically and immediately. The logout button will redirect you to the login and registration page, and other users in the room will receive a notification, and the online count is decreased by 1. So this is my ECE Chat Room, and thanks for watching.